Dr. Peter Williams looked at his medical scanner and shook his head. The readings made no sense. Admiral Cooper sat calmly on the examination table while the machine tried to understand what he had become. "Your bones are 3 times stronger than normal human bone," Williams said. "Your muscle tissue has been reinforced with something I've never seen before. And your brain—" Williams paused, staring at the screen. "Your brain is connected to some kind of computer network." Cooper smiled patiently. "The enhancements aren't invasive, Doctor. The hegemony doesn't force change on anyone. They offer improvement, and most species accept it gladly." Captain Morrison stood beside Williams, watching the impossible medical data scroll across the screen. "Most species? What happens to the ones that refuse?" Cooper's expression grew dark. "They get eaten by the devourers. The real enemy, Morrison. The thing that's been moving between galaxies for millions of years, consuming everything in its path." Morrison felt cold. "And the hegemony is fighting these devourers?" "The hegemony is building an alliance," Cooper explained. "Every species they contact gets the same choice we did. Join the fight and survive, or stay weak and become food." Cooper stood up from the examination table. Even that simple movement looked different now. He flowed like water, perfectly balanced. "Let me show you what we've learned." They walked through the corridors of the Retribution. Morrison saw more of the crew as they moved deeper into the ship. All of them looked younger than they should be, stronger than humans ought to be. Their eyes held that same silver light that seemed to see everything. They entered what used to be the ship's medical bay. Now it looked like something between a hospital and a garden. Organic machines grew from the walls, pulsing with soft light. The air smelled clean and fresh, like spring rain. "This is where the real changes happen," Cooper said. He pointed to beds that looked like they were made of living metal. "The enhancement process takes 3 days. The subject stays conscious the whole time, choosing each modification as it happens." Dr. Williams stared at the alien medical equipment. "Choosing what modifications?" "Everything," said a voice behind them. They turned to see Lieutenant Kate Sullivan walking into the room. She moved with perfect grace, her feet barely making sound on the floor. "Stronger muscles, better reflexes, improved memory," Sullivan continued. "Enhanced healing, longer life, the ability to interface directly with computer systems." She held up her hand, and Morrison saw thin silver lines under her skin. Morrison watched as Sullivan walked to one of the alien computers and simply touched it. The screen immediately showed detailed information about the ship's status, all controlled by her thoughts. "It's not just physical changes," Sullivan explained. "Our minds work faster now. We can process information at incredible speeds. And we're connected to each other through a shared network." "Connected how?" Morrison asked. Cooper answered, "We can share thoughts, experiences, knowledge. When one of us learns something, we all benefit from it. It makes us incredibly efficient." As a crew, Morrison felt uneasy. "You're talking about losing your individuality." "Not losing it," Cooper corrected. "Expanding it. I'm still Frank Cooper, with all my memories and personality. But now I'm also connected to 800 of the best minds Earth ever produced, plus the accumulated knowledge of the hegemony." Dr. Williams ran his scanner over Sullivan. Her readings were just as impossible as Cooper's. "This technology is centuries ahead of anything Earth has developed." "Millennia ahead," Sullivan said. "The hegemony has been perfecting enhancement. Techniques for longer than human civilization has existed. They've helped dozens of species become stronger." Cooper led them to another room, this one filled with screens showing space battles. Morrison watched ships that looked like combinations of different alien technologies fighting against things that made his skin crawl. The enemy vessels looked wrong, like they were made of shadow and hunger. These are recordings from the front. Lines, Cooper explained. The Devourers consume everything they touch, matter, energy, even the space between atoms. They turn entire star systems into nothing but appetite. Morrison watched a Devourer ship engulf an alien vessel. The process was horrible to see. The enemy ship simply dissolved, becoming part of the hungry darkness. How do you fight something like that? Morrison asked. With everything we have, Cooper replied. The Hegemony Alliance includes over 100 species, all enhanced, all working together. But even united, we're barely holding the line. Sullivan pointed to another screen showing a star map. Red dots marked Devourer positions, slowly advancing through space. They're systematic. They consume one galaxy, then move to the next. Our galaxy is next on their list. Morrison studied the map. The red dots were getting closer to human space. How long do we have? 6 months until the first scouts reach our outer colonies, Cooper said. 2 years until the main force arrives. Earth's current military technology will be useless against them. Dr. Williams looked up from his scanner. But enhanced humans could fight them? Enhanced humans are the key, Cooper said with excitement in his voice. Human creativity is unique in the galaxy. Other species think in predictable patterns. Humans create chaos, find unexpected solutions, refuse to accept defeat. Cooper walked to a large window showing the stars outside. The hegemony has been waiting for a species like us. Our unpredictable thinking, enhanced with their technology, could turn the tide of this war. Morrison joined Cooper at the window. But the price is giving up our humanity. The price is evolving beyond our current limitations, Cooper corrected. We're still human, Morrison. We still feel love, fear, hope, anger. We still dream and create and struggle. We're just better at it now. Sullivan moved to stand beside them. The choice is simple. Become something greater than we were, or watch our species get consumed by an enemy that sees us as nothing but food. Morrison looked out at the stars and thought about Earth. Billions of people living their lives, unaware that death was coming from the darkness between galaxies. Children playing in parks, artists creating beauty, scientists pushing the boundaries of knowledge. All of it threatened by creatures that wanted to turn everything into hunger. What would the enhancement process do to our children? Morrison asked. Cooper smiled sadly. Enhanced humans can still have children, but the children are born already improved. Stronger, smarter, better adapted to survive in a dangerous universe. Dr. Williams put away his scanner. We need to return to Earth and report this. Yes, Cooper agreed, but not to warn them of danger, to offer them hope. The hegemony is ready to enhance our entire species, Morrison. Every human who chooses it can become part of something greater. Morrison thought about the choice facing humanity. Stay weak and face extinction, or accept alien enhancement and possibly lose what made them human in the first place. Outside the window, the stars looked the same as always, but Morrison now knew that in the darkness between them, something was coming that would change everything. The only question was whether humanity would be ready when it arrived. The USS Retribution floated in space like a metal mountain. Morrison stared at it through the main screen and tried to understand what he was seeing. The ship was huge, much bigger than he remembered from the old pictures. Strange metal growths covered the hull like silver vines. Lines of blue light moved along the surface in patterns that made his eyes water. "Boarding party ready, sir," said Commander Amy Rodriguez. She stood behind Morrison with her team of 12 Marines. All of them carried weapons, but Morrison wondered if guns would help against whatever was on that ship. "Remember," Morrison told them, "Admiral Cooper and his crew are still human as far as we know, but 37 years with alien technology might have changed them. Stay alert." Rodriguez nodded. She was his best officer, smart and brave. If anyone could handle first contact with the modified Retribution, it was her. The shuttle ride, too. The alien hybrid ship took 20 minutes. Morrison watched Rodriguez's team through the communication link as they approached the massive vessel. The docking bay opened for them automatically, recognizing their human codes. "It knows we're coming," Rodriguez said into her radio. "The ship's computers are responding like nothing changed." Morrison heard the nervousness in her voice. Everyone knew that alien technology could be dangerous. The hegemony had been friendly enough over the years, but they kept their secrets. No human had ever seen the inside of their ships or learned how their machines worked. Rodriguez and her team walked into the docking bay. The room looked normal at first, but then Morrison saw the differences. The walls glowed with soft light from the inside. Metal flowed like water in some places, reshaping itself as the team moved through. "The air is good," Rodriguez reported. "Temperature normal, but there's something else. The walls feel alive." Morrison watched through her helmet camera as they moved deeper into the ship. The corridors were familiar but wrong, human design mixed, with flowing alien shapes. Screens showed information in both English and symbols that hurt to look at. They found crew members in the common areas. At first glance, they looked human. Men and women in Earth military uniforms, doing normal ship duties, but their eyes were different. Instead of normal brown or blue, their eyes had silver specks that moved like tiny stars. "Rodriguez," one of the crew members said. "Amy Rodriguez, service number 2847 Alpha. Welcome back to the Retribution." Rodriguez stopped walking. "How do you know my service number?" The crew member smiled. "We know many things now. The ship knows you. It remembers every human who ever served in Earth's fleet." Morrison felt cold. Through the radio, he heard Rodriguez ask, "Where is Admiral Cooper?" "He's waiting for you," the crew member said. "He's been waiting for 37 years. They walked deeper into the ship. Morrison noticed that some rooms had changed completely. What used to be storage areas were now filled with machines that looked like they were grown instead of built. Organic, curves mixed with metal angles. The whole ship hummed with power that made Morrison's teeth ache. Finally, they reached what used to be the ship's command center. The room was bigger now, with walls that stretched up into darkness. In the center sat a chair that looked more like a throne, surrounded by floating screens showing star maps of the entire galaxy. Admiral Frank Cooper sat in the chair with his back to them. Morrison recognized the man's shape, but when Cooper turned around, Rodriguez took a step backward. Cooper looked older, with white hair and lines on his face, but his eyes held the same silver stars as the crew. More than that, his skin had a soft glow, and when he moved, Morrison saw that his movements were too smooth, too perfect. "Amy Rodriguez," Cooper said without looking at her directly. "Still favoring your left side when you're nervous. Some habits never change." Rodriguez raised her weapon slightly. "Admiral Cooper, you're ordered to return to Earth for questioning. The entire crew of the Retribution is listed as missing." Cooper stood up from his chair. He moved like water, flowing instead of walking. Missing. My dear Rodriguez, we've been quite busy. We've been learning things that will save our species. Learning from who? Cooper smiled, and Morrison saw that his teeth were slightly different, sharper. From our hosts, of course. The hegemony. Didn't capture us, Amy. They saved us from something much worse. The floating screens around Cooper's chair changed. They showed pictures of space, but not normal space. Dark areas between stars where nothing should exist. And in that darkness, shapes moved. Huge things that looked like they were made of hunger itself. "These are the Devourers," Cooper said. His voice carried extra sounds now, harmonics that made Morrison's radio crackle. "They consume entire worlds. They turn matter into nothing but appetite. The hegemony has been fighting them for thousands of years." Rodriguez looked at the screens. "What does this have to do with us?" "Everything," Cooper replied. "Humanity has something the hegemony needs. Our minds work differently. We create chaos, where they create order. We find solutions they never considered." Cooper walked closer to Rodriguez. With each step, the silver in his eyes moved faster. "The hegemony offered us a choice 37 years ago. Join them and become something greater, or wait for the Devourers to find Earth. And you chose to join them without asking Earth first." Cooper's expression became sad. "Earth wasn't ready for the truth. Your governments would have panicked, started wars, wasted time we didn't have." He gestured to the screens around them. "So we became the bridge between human and alien. We volunteered to be the first." Morrison heard Rodriguez's breathing get faster through the radio. "Volunteered for what?" "Enhancement," Cooper said simply. "They gave us stronger bodies, faster minds, longer lives. In return, we helped them understand how humans think, how we fight, how we survive against impossible odds." One of Cooper's crew members walked into the room. Morrison recognized her as Lieutenant Kate Sullivan, who had served under Cooper before the ship disappeared. She looked young for someone who should be in her 60s, and she moved with the same liquid grace as Cooper. "Show them," Cooper said to Sullivan. Sullivan walked to a heavy metal beam that supported part of the ceiling. She grabbed it with one hand and bent it like it was made of clay. At the same time, the screens around the room changed, showing new information that Sullivan was controlling with her thoughts. "We're still human," Sullivan said to Rodriguez, "but we're more than we were, strong enough to fight the things that are coming." Rodriguez stepped backward. "Coming where?" Cooper pointed to one of the screens. It showed a map of human space with red dots moving toward Earth's colonies. "The Devourers found us 6 months ago. They're coming, and Earth's current technology won't stop them." Morrison felt sick. Through Rodriguez's camera, he could see the truth in Cooper's enhanced eyes. Something terrible was heading for human worlds, and the only people who could fight it were no longer entirely human. "You have a choice to make," Cooper told Rodriguez. "Join us willingly, or wait for Earth to make the same choice under worse circumstances." Rodriguez looked around the room at the enhanced humans and their impossible technology. Morrison could hear her thinking through the radio, weighing the options for all of humanity. The storm that Cooper had become was offering to spread to everyone. The question was whether humanity would accept it before it was too late. Time was running out in more ways than one. Jake Morrison stared at the readouts showing gravitational distortions spreading across the sector. Stars were slowly shifting from their normal positions. In 2 hours, the damage would become permanent. "Admiral," Dr. Amanda Foster said urgently, "I have 3 options for you. None of them are good." Jake turned from the viewing window, where frozen alien ships waited like statues. Tell me. First option. We maintain the Chronos Protocol indefinitely. We become masters of time itself, but the gravitational distortions will eventually destroy dozens of star systems and kill trillions of innocent people. Chief Engineer Lisa Carter nodded grimly. The power requirements are also enormous. Our reactor will burn out in maybe 6 months. When it fails, the temporal collapse will be catastrophic. Second option? Jake asked. We shut down the protocol completely and face the alien fleet in normal combat. With 3,000 ships against our 40, we will lose quickly. All human colonies will be destroyed or enslaved. Captain Ryan Phillips checked his tactical displays. Even with our advanced weapons, the numbers are impossible. We might take down a few hundred of their ships before they overwhelm us. Dr. Foster took a deep breath. Third option is what I call the demonstration. We create a controlled release that shows our power while offering peace. But this has never been attempted. We could accidentally destroy everything anyway. Jake looked around his bridge. These people had followed him into the impossible and somehow achieved godlike power. Now he had to decide what to do with it. Explain the demonstration, he said. We selectively restore time flow to specific ships while keeping others frozen. We show the aliens that we could destroy them all but choose not to. Then we make our offer. Lieutenant Commander Ben Taylor, the ethics officer, spoke up. Admiral, this could work. We prove our strength while showing restraint. It demonstrates that humanity is different from the empires that rule through fear. Crystal Singer of Distant Echoes appeared on the communication screen. Admiral Morrison, my science teams have been analyzing your temporal field. We believe the controlled release is possible, but the timing must be perfect. What do you need? Jake asked. We will provide technical assistance to modify your Chronos protocol. But you must trust us completely. One mistake and both our fleets will be destroyed. Jake considered the alien captain. The Vorthans had revealed devastating secrets about the Council's crimes. They could be lying, but everything they said matched human observations. Do it, Jake decided. But if this is a trap, you will die. With us. Understood, Admiral. Transmitting modification protocols now. Lisa worked frantically at her engineering station as Vorthon technical data streamed across her displays. This is incredibly complex. They want us to create multiple temporal zones with different time flow rates. Can our systems handle it? Jake asked. Maybe, but Admiral, we will only get one chance. If the modifications fail, the Chronos Protocol will collapse completely. Lieutenant Kate Morrison appeared on a side screen from her Corvette. Dad, the colonies are reporting strange effects. Some planets are experiencing time distortions. People are aging at different rates in different locations. Jake felt his heart sink. The temporal effect was already harming innocent people. They had to act soon. Begin the modifications, he ordered. For the next hour, Lisa and the Vorthon engineers worked to reshape the Chronos Protocol. Jake watched readouts he barely understood as they prepared to attempt something that had never been tried before. Admiral, Dr. Foster reported, we are ready. The modified protocol will restore normal time flow to approximately half the alien fleet. The other half will remain frozen as a demonstration of our power. Which ships do we release? Jake asked. Crystal Singer replied from his ship. We suggest releasing the diplomatic vessels and science ships first. Keep the largest warships frozen until negotiations are complete. Jake nodded. It made sense to free the ships least likely to attack immediately. All human ships, pull back to maximum distance, he ordered. This is Admiral Morrison. We are about to change the course of galactic history. Jake walked to the modified control panel Lisa had prepared. Instead of a single activation switch, there were now dozens of controls that would allow precise manipulation of the temporal field. Beginning the demonstration, he announced. He pressed the first control. Across the alien fleet, selected ships began to move. The diplomatic vessels of various species slowly came back to life. Their crews would be confused and terrified, suddenly finding themselves in the middle of a situation they could not understand. "Open communications to all released ships," Jake ordered. The main screen filled with incoming transmissions. Alien captains from a dozen different species appeared, all talking at once in various languages. The computer translated their words into a chorus of confusion and fear. "This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the human fleet," he said loudly enough to cut through the noise. "You have just experienced humanity's new temporal technology. As you can see, the majority of your fleet remains frozen in time." The alien voices fell silent. Jake could see shock and terror on their faces. "We could have destroyed every ship in your fleet without loss of human life," Jake continued. "Instead, we chose to demonstrate our power while offering peace." Fleet Admiral Zeftar's ship was among those still frozen, but several Zephyrian diplomatic vessels had been released. A female Zephyrian captain spoke first. "Human Admiral, this is impossible. No young species possesses such technology." Crystal Singer appeared on the communication channel. "Captain Yelandra, meet the species that proves the Council wrong. Humanity achieved in isolation what your empire said was impossible." Jake stepped forward. "The choice is simple. We can end this conflict through negotiation, or we can demonstrate why temporal manipulation will no longer guarantee victory for the established powers." The Zephyrian captain looked around at her frozen fleet. "What do you want?" "Recognition of humanity's right to exist, an end to the forced evacuations, and most importantly, an end to the Council's practice of sabotaging younger species' temporal research." Several alien captains looked confused, but Jake could see understanding in others. The Vorthans had been right. Many species knew about the Council's crimes but had been too afraid to speak. "We offer knowledge sharing," Jake continued. "The secrets of temporal technology freely given to all species. No more artificial hierarchy based on technological monopolies." A crystalline captain from the Silicon Collective spoke up. "The Council will never agree to this." "Then the Council can join their frozen warships," Jake replied. "The age of rule through fear and deception is over." He looked out at the mix of moving and motionless ships. With one decision, humanity had become the most powerful force in the galaxy. The question now was whether they would use that power wisely. The stars watched as a new chapter in galactic history began. More Vorthan ships began to move. Jake Morrison watched as 3 additional crystalline vessels slowly broke free from the temporal freeze. Their transparent hulls glowed with internal light as they adapted to the Chronos Protocol's effects. "Admiral," Captain Ryan Phillips reported, "the Vorthons are forming a small fleet, 4 ships now moving under their own power." Dr. Amanda Foster studied her readings with growing excitement. "Their exotic matter hulls are somehow learning to exist within our temporal field. It is like they are evolving in real time." Crystal Singer of Distant Echoes opened communications again. This time, 3 other Vorthan captains appeared alongside him. their light patterns synchronized in complex waves that hurt human eyes to follow. Admiral Morrison, the lead Vorthon, said, "We bring urgent information. The galactic powers have hidden the true nature of their control for thousands of years." Chief Engineer Lisa Carter looked up from her station. "What do you mean? The Zephyrian Empire, the Aquatic Dominion, the Machine Collective, all maintain power through temporal manipulation. But their technology is crude compared to what you have achieved. They can only create small time dilation fields around individual ships." Jake stepped closer to the holographic display. "Are you saying they are not as powerful as they claim?" "In terms of raw firepower, they are formidable," another Vorthon captain replied. "But their true advantage has always been temporal. They slow down enemy ships while keeping their own at normal speed. No young species has ever been able to counter this." Dr. Foster leaned forward. "Until now." "Exactly. Your Chronos protocol does not just counter their technology, it makes it irrelevant. You have achieved absolute temporal control on a scale that should be impossible." Jake felt the weight of that statement. How is that possible? Our scientists thought we were just building a better version of what already existed. The lead Vorthon's light patterns shifted to what might have been amusement. "Your scientists were working with incomplete information. The Council has suppressed knowledge of true temporal mechanics for millennia. Only we Vorthons have continued to study these principles in secret." Lisa looked confused. "But why keep it secret?" "Because knowledge is power," Crystal Singer replied. "The Council maintains control by ensuring that younger species never develop effective temporal technology. They share just enough information to make attempts possible, but always leave out crucial details that guarantee failure." Captain Ryan checked his tactical displays. "So every species that has tried to build time manipulation weapons has failed?" "Not failed. Been sabotaged. The Council provides technical assistance to promising young civilizations, but their help is designed to create unstable systems that destroy themselves during testing." Jake felt anger building in his chest. "They deliberately cause the deaths of researchers and scientists across the galaxy, thousands of them over the past 10,000 years. Each failed experiment reinforces the belief that only the established powers can safely use temporal technology." Dr. Foster stared at her instruments. "Then how did we succeed?" "Your species approached the problem differently. Instead of asking the Council for help, you developed the technology in complete isolation. More importantly, your ship happens to be positioned at a natural temporal nexus." "You mentioned that before," Jake said. "What exactly is a temporal nexus?" The Vorthon captain gestured toward the viewing window. "This region of space sits at the intersection of several massive gravitational fields. 2 black holes, a neutron star cluster, and an ancient stellar graveyard create unique conditions. Space-time is naturally unstable here." Lisa checked her engineering displays. "That would explain the resonance patterns we detected. Our quantum core is not just generating temporal energy, it is amplifying what already exists." "Precisely. Your technology turned a natural phenomenon into a controlled effect. This is why the Chronos protocol works here when it might fail elsewhere." Jake walked to the main viewing window. Outside, the frozen alien fleet waited in perfect stillness. "What do you want from us?" "Alliance," Crystal Singer replied without hesitation. "The Vorthons have grown tired of the Council's oppression. We possess knowledge that could help your species, and you possess power that could free the galaxy from 10,000 years of tyranny. And if we refuse?" Then you face a choice between releasing the temporal effect and dying in battle, or maintaining it and becoming the new oppressors. Either way, the cycle continues. Jake studied the aliens' shifting light patterns. Why should we trust you? For all we know, this could be another council trick. Because we are showing you something no council member would ever reveal. The Vorthon activated a holographic display that filled the space between their ships. It showed a detailed map of the galaxy with thousands of marked locations. These are all the sites where young species have attempted to develop temporal technology over the past 10,000 years. Notice how they cluster around natural temporal anomalies. Dr. Foster gasped. They were all trying to do what we did, use natural phenomena to amplify their technology. Exactly. And in every case, council advisors helped them design systems that would overload and explode when they reached critical power levels. Jake studied the map with growing horror. Each marked location represented a dead civilization. Researchers who had died thinking they had made a mistake when they had actually been murdered. How many? He asked quietly. Conservative estimate? 50 billion sentient beings over the centuries, all killed to maintain the current power structure. The bridge fell silent. Jake felt sick thinking about the scale of the slaughter. Entire species wiped out to keep the council in power. Admiral, Lisa said urgently, I am detecting new problems with the temporal field. The gravitational distortions are accelerating. We have maybe 2 hours before the effect becomes irreversible. Jake looked at the Vorthan captains. If we work together, what could we accomplish? In the short term, we could help you create a controlled release of the temporal effect. Instead of simply turning it off and facing certain death, we could demonstrate your power while offering peace. And in the long term, revolution, not through conquest, but through liberation. Share the knowledge the Council has hidden. Give every species the chance to develop their own temporal technology. End the artificial hierarchy that has dominated the galaxy for so long. Jake considered the offer. The Vorthons could be lying, but everything they said matched what he had observed. The Council's technology was impressive but not overwhelming. Their real power came from cheating. What about the other species in that fleet? Jake asked, pointing toward the frozen ships. Many serve the Council because they have no choice. The Aquatic Dominion, the Silicon Collective, even some Zephyrian factions have grown tired of the current system. They stay loyal because they see no alternative. And if we give them one, then perhaps we can change the galaxy without destroying it. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew watched him with trust and hope. Outside, time itself waited for his decision. Captain Jake Morrison walked onto the bridge of his ship and felt something was wrong. The morning shift had started like any other day in deep space, but now his crew looked worried. The screens in front of them showed numbers that didn't make sense. "What do we have, Barnes?" Morrison asked his second-in-command. Lisa Barnes was good at her job and never got excited about nothing. Barnes turned to face him with pale skin. "Sir, we picked up something impossible about 2 hours ago. The computers keep checking the data, but it comes back the same every time." Morrison moved closer to look at the main screen. The numbers showed an energy reading from a ship that was moving toward them through deep space. But it wasn't just any ship. The computer said it was human technology, but the power levels were huge, much bigger than anything Earth had ever built. "Run it again," Morrison said. He needed to be sure. The scan started over. The same results came back. A human ship was out there moving fast with enough power to destroy anything in space. But that wasn't the strangest part. "Sir," said Ben Hughes from the science station, The computer matched the energy pattern to our records. It's the USS Retribution. Morrison felt cold suddenly. Every person in Earth's Space Navy knew that name. The Retribution had been the best ship humans ever built. It had the newest weapons, the fastest engines, and the smartest crew. 37 years ago, it had gone into alien space to make contact with the hegemony. It never came back. That's not possible, Morrison said. The Retribution was destroyed decades ago. Hughes shook his head. The energy pattern is exact, sir. But the power output is 4 times stronger than when it left Earth. Something changed. That ship. Morrison stared at the screen. The Retribution had carried 800 people, including Admiral Frank Cooper. Cooper had been Earth's best military mind. When the ship disappeared, it had been a terrible loss for humanity. The aliens called the hegemony had never explained what happened. They just said the ship was gone. After that, humans and the hegemony had kept away from each other. Both sides watched and waited, but nobody started a fight. The aliens had better technology, so humans stayed in their own part of space. It had been a cold peace for 37 years. "Where is it heading?" Morrison asked. Barnes checked her instruments. "Straight for us, sir. It will be here in 6 hours. Morrison thought about what this meant. If the Retribution was really out, there, where had it been for nearly 40 years? What had happened to the crew? And why was it coming back now with so much power? "Send a message to Earth Command," Morrison ordered. "Tell them the ghost ship is coming home. Priority 1. Barnes started typing the message. Morrison kept looking at the screen. The energy readings were getting stronger as the ship got closer. Whatever had happened to the Retribution, it was no longer just a human ship. "Sir," Hughes said from his station, "I'm reading something else. The ship's hull design has changed. It's still the Retribution, but there are new parts attached to it." Morrison moved to look over Hughes's shoulder. The computer was building a picture of the approaching ship based on the energy scans. What he saw made him step back. The Retribution was there, but it looked different. Strange shapes grew from the hull like metal trees. Lines of light ran along, the sides in patterns that hurt to look at. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Alien technology," Hughes whispered. They merged it with human design. Morrison felt his hands shake slightly. This was beyond anything Earth had prepared for. A human ship with alien upgrades carrying who knew what kind of weapons or crew. It could be a gift from the hegemony, or it could be the start of a war humanity couldn't win. "Any response to our communications?" Morrison asked. "Nothing yet, sir," Barnes replied. "But we're getting automated signals. The ship's computers are responding to our standard military codes." That was something, at least. If the ship's computers still recognized human protocols, maybe there were still humans aboard. But Morrison wondered what kind of humans they might be after 37 years with alien technology. An hour passed. The Retribution got closer, and the energy readings grew stronger. Morrison's ship, the Defiant, was a good vessel with a strong crew, but it was nothing compared to what was approaching them. Finally, a new signal came through. Barnes looked up with surprise. "Sir, we're getting a voice transmission." "Put it through," Morrison said. The bridge speakers crackled, and then a voice came through clearly. It was human, speaking perfect English, but there was something different about it. The voice had extra sounds underneath, like it was coming from more than one person. "This is Admiral Frank Cooper aboard the USS Retribution. Permission to come alongside." Morrison felt his breath catch. Cooper's voice, but changed somehow. "Admiral Cooper, this is Captain Morrison." You've been missing for 37 years. Where have you been? A pause, then Cooper's voice again. We've been learning, Captain, preparing. There's much we need to discuss. Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew stared back with worried faces. They all knew they were facing something beyond their understanding. Admiral, I need you to know that Earth Command will want a full report of your activities. Cooper's laugh came through the speakers, but it didn't sound entirely human anymore. Of course they will, Morrison. But first, you need to understand what's coming. The real war is about to begin, and humanity isn't ready for it. Morrison felt a chill run through him. What war? The one the hegemony has been preparing us for without us knowing it. The enemy that's been waiting in the dark between stars. They're coming, Morrison. And when they arrive, everything will change. The transmission ended. Morrison stared at the screen showing the approaching ship. In a few hours, he would meet Admiral Cooper and learn what had happened to the Retribution. He suspected that nothing would ever be the same after that meeting. Outside, the stars looked the same as always. But Morrison knew that somewhere in the darkness, something was waiting. Something that had turned Earth's greatest warship into a hybrid of human and alien technology. Something that was coming home after nearly 4 decades of silence. The Ghost ship was returning, and with it came the promise of war.